Welcome to the latest edition of Kernels from the Cornfield. No huss, no halls, no sharks. News with a dash of commentary to spice up your fare for Monday, July 7th, 2014. Not in my backyard. Swamping news coverage across the Cornfield and across the nation is the issue of immigration. The nation seems to be seeing a plague of xenophobia sweeping across the land. Southern border governors are fuming. The president is trying to use executive orders. Congress can't agree. On one hand, we have a humanitarian crisis with the influx of unaccompanied children crossing from Central America through Mexico, landing in the U.S., and turning themselves into border guards. Under the law signed by President George W. Bush, these children cannot just be turned around and kicked out. The children must either be placed with relatives in the U.S. of A. or detained until arrangements may be made to return the children to their home countries. The children are actually a separate issue from immigration reform. The children from Honduras, Guatemala, and El Salvador are coming legally under the 2008 law. The administration is following the law, determining which children to send to relatives and which to return to their home country. Protests in places such as Murrieta, California, are misplacing their anger at the children being shipped to detention centers rather than where the anger, the frustration, should be directed: at the door of every representative, every senator, and at the White House. President Barack Obama is traveling to Texas this week, but at this time looks like he will not be accepting Governor Rick Perry's invitation to tour the border and see for himself the problem. Optically, this might not be in the president's best interest to not visit the border. It's past time for the adults to join the discussion, send the kids to their rooms, and find a workable solution. Capital City violence. 3 police officers will be laid to rest this week in the Hoosier State. 2 were killed over the weekend. 1 was in Gary and the other in Indianapolis. Speaking of Indianapolis, the Cornfield's capital seems to be in a contest to become the violence and murder capital of the nation. The number of shootings and the number of officers being targeted has reached alarming levels that haven't been seen since the unrest in Gary a couple of decades ago. Our hearts, our prayers, our thoughts to the victims and to the surviving families of these 3 officers and the others who have been caught in the crossfire and rampant violence that is attacking our capital and other cities like a virus going epidemic. At least Indy was spared the tragedy of Chicago over the 4th of July weekend when 14 people were killed and over 80 were injured. To think the city in Illinois has some of the toughest gun laws in the country. Caught in the squeeze. An American teenager visiting relatives in the West Bank was caught in the escalating violence. The teenager, again an American citizen, was beaten by Israeli police. Things are beyond getting out of hand. Emotions are flaring and flames of war are becoming larger and larger. Hamas shelling Israel, Israel bombing the Gaza. How long before Lebanon and Jordan are drawn into the no-win war? We should have known. The level and scope of spying on ordinary Americans by the National Security Agency, according to the Washington Post, is even worse than we thought. Reportedly, 90% of the information being collected falls into what is known as incidental collection. That is, 9 out of 10 of those whom the NSA was spying on were not targets, were not foreigners, were not doing anything other than using the internet or their cell phones. You have to read it for yourself to see just how bad and how damaging to our constitutional liberty the NSA programs are. Visit the Washington Post for all the details. California, here I stay away. Can you believe the video of the California Highway Patrolman, Chip, beating a woman over and over in the face in the middle of the highway? What is up with California police officers beating people? Remember Kelly Thomas? Doesn't sound like a place I want to visit anytime soon. The officer has been placed on administrative leave pending the outcome of an investigation into the incident. The California Highway Patrol says there is more to the story than what is seen in the video. Call to allegiance. seems the wannabe caliph of the new Islamic Caliphate, Abu Bakr al-Baghdadi, the seldom seen leader of the Islamic State in Iraq and Syria, ISIS, is believed to be the star of a video shot in Mosul delivering a sermon at a mosque. Baghdadi called for the faithful to rise up and to pledge allegiance to the new caliphate. It is not known for sure if the man in the video actually is Baghdadi. Intelligence analysts are studying the video to not only determine if who the man is who they think he is, but if there may have been coded messages to sleeper cells to wake up and begin warring activity in Baghdad. It's over. Well, that's what the Mississippi Election Commission ruled this evening, proclaiming Senator Thad Cochran the winner of the Republican runoff against State Senator Chris McDaniel, winning by nearly 8,000 votes. But as expected, McDaniel says he will mount a legal challenge to the commission's finding. Forget the tax pledge, take the no-gun pledge. A group headed by former New York Mayor Mike Bloomberg is attempting to pressure candidates to sign a pledge to support more gun control legislation. Candidates are being sent a questionnaire to determine who will or who will not get Bloomberg's blessing. The idea is to counter the political pull of the National Rifle Association on candidates. Well, that's what caught my attention for Monday, July 7th, 2014. Tune in tomorrow for another episode of Kernels from the Cornfield. I'm Mark Ivy. Good evening.